Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. We are live on May 2nd. Today's webinar is going to be Business Idea Generation presented by Mark Thompson. Lynn Wilson is also here with us today. My name is Alyssa Atkins and I am the Training and Development Coordinator for the Native Learning Center, and I will be your webinar facilitator today. Just a quick disclaimer, this webinar provides a summary of fundamental concepts, requirements, and/or procedures within the allotted 90 minutes. The material discussed does not illustrate all possible scenarios that could be applicable. Before we get started, I want to familiarize you with some of the features available and how the environment works. If you look at the top of your screen, you will see an icon of either a person with their hand raised or just a hand. With that icon, you can either raise hand, agree, disagree, or step away. Now your screen should look similar to this graphic here. To the bottom left, you will see a box that says Files. Here you will find today's presentation. Please feel free to download a copy for yourself. Simply click the item you would like to download, then click the arrow pointing downwards, and you will be prompted to save or print the materials based on your device's permissions. The second box that states Web Links to houses today's survey, as well as any other links that are found throughout the presentation. Lastly, to the right of the screen, we have a chat box available. This is how you will communicate to the instructor and NLC staff. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to interact by using the chat box. Simply type your message and hit enter or click that up arrow icon button to submit. We encourage class participation, so please feel free to write in those questions or comments. Tech support issues should also be submitted here. And it is with a pleasure that I introduce Mark Thompson and Lynn Wilson.
All righty, thank you very much, Awista. How's everybody doing today? I hope very well wherever you are across Indian country. Awista, should I just hit stop sharing here? So I see the screen now. All right, so I'm gonna pop up here and get my screen going, and we should be good to go. And just like that, hopefully it pops up. Okay, great. All right, I hope everybody is in the right location. This is Business Idea Generation. We're going to talk about today a bunch of different ways and some techniques that we utilize to help folks generate business ideas. Just real quickly, who we are. We're Indian Dispute Resolution Services is our official name. We have a program that we do dispute resolution work, and all our work that we do with tribes and Native organizations, you'll find at idrsinc.org. But several years ago, we created a small business program. And this small business program, we provide training and technical assistance, and technical assistance is just small business counseling. And we do that totally free of charge. And you can find all that information about that program. It's called the IDRS Acorn Project, and you can find out about it at nativebiz.org. My name is Mark Thompson. I'm the executive director here. There's our phone number. There's our email, or my email. And here's Lynn. And Lynn, I don't know if you want to come and say hello just for a second.
See you, everyone.
All right, there was Lynn. And there's her information, her phone number, and her email. Of course, this presentation is over here in the left-hand side in files. You can download this, and you'll have this available to you. There's so much we want to cover in this presentation. We normally present this class as an all-day class, anywhere between 4 and 5 hours. Obviously, we can't get to all that material, but we're going to do our best to cram a lot in this session. So let's get going. So first of all, why did we even create this class? And what is the need for business idea generation? So we had been doing a lot of small business training, and we would do business planning classes. That's kind of the introductory small business class that when you're doing you're in this line of work, you're helping entrepreneurs. A lot of times you start with a business planning course, and that's generally the course that you offer most often, right? Because everybody's got to develop their business plan. That's the thing that you should do before you enter into business, the best practice. And what we were finding is a lot of people would come to our classes and they were very interested in starting a business. They wanted to be an entrepreneur, whether they knew all the difficulties with being that. They did see that, hey, a lot of times that, starting a business, and if you can grow and make that business successful, this is a way to financial independence. The issue that they were having is that they didn't have a business idea. They didn't know what business was right for them, right? They said, well, I want to go into business, but and it's very hard to just suggest stuff, right? Because what's right for me may not be right for you, right? I'm going to have certain experiences, certain expertise, certain certain interests that are going to be totally different than what a lot of the other people that are on this webinar are, having their own life, right? So I'm, Lynn will know, right? She's probably laughing. I'm a huge sports fan, a big Oklahoma Sooners fan. I mean, I follow like the Sooners, and now we're in recruiting season, so I'm following the Sooners. For most people, some people don't know what the Sooners are, right? And if they know that they're a university, or they don't know how good their football team is or what their football team has done, or even if they know they're good, they don't know anything about the team or who's on the team. And so you can see there's different levels of interest, and so if I suggest to somebody, oh, you should start a business about the Oklahoma Sooners, right? For most people, that's not going to appeal to them, where that's something that would be very, very interesting to me. So that's why it's hard just to say, hey, go start this business. So that's why we developed this class. And what we're really doing in this class is we're trying to provide techniques for you to pull those business ideas out of either what's inside you, or as you read things, you take in information, things that spark the light bulb comes on and says, yes, that's the right thing. And it may not be the right thing forever, but at least that's the right thing that I want to pursue right now. So what is business idea, and why is it important? And I think if you guys know, if you want to start a business, right, and you don't have an idea, right? Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of understand what the concept of business idea generation is, right? Generating, business ideas. And if you want to start this business, you don't have an idea, you understand why that's so important. But think about, as you're as you're wanting to start this business, there are going to be things that, products and types of businesses that are going to be very, like I said before, they're just suited for you. And I'll say, like, in this class, what we're doing is we're looking at your skills, your hobbies, your experiences, and things that are in your community that you could definitely be looking at. That's what we're kind of teaching you. It's really things that are in your environment. We're not going to be suggesting, hey, the hot fad. I don't know if you guys are following the news, but you guys have probably heard about this thing called Chat GPT, right? That's kind of the hot thing. We're not going to be suggesting, hey, everybody go start a business around Chat GPT. For most people, that's not going to be an appropriate business, right? So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get you to start businesses that are going to be right for you. And I just want to say that business idea generation is not just for new businesses. Entrepreneurs, they need to be constantly innovating, exploring new ideas to stay ahead of their competition, and be thinking about, it's not just the idea of the overall business, but it's also, when we're talking about components of the business. So that could be, a new take on a product. right? So somebody's already making cookies, but I'm going to make cookies in this different way. Or maybe it's the way that you're delivering, a product, right? If we're using big business examples, we think about Uber, right? They kind of reinvented how the taxi cab business was delivered, right? And of course, those are ideas for a business, but even within your business, right? If you're running a restaurant, what's going to be my new menu item that I'm going to have for next month? These are all things, right, that are things that you have to generate, new ideas that you have to generate to be able to use within your business. One last thing about this is, you know, uh, our organization, we work in several states, only work in Indian country. And I think it's a very important thing to say that, in America in general, small businesses are very important, but they're crucially important in Indian country, right? And small businesses can really help tribal communities grow and develop the ecosystem, especially when those dollars recycle within the community and they're not lost to these big box retailers and other businesses that are off reservation or outside of Indian country. So this is another reason why we want to get you guys thinking about, what are those ideas that are not only just right for me, but are going to be self-sustaining, that you are going to be able to keep on with, and are going to be profitable, so that they support yourself and your family, and can keep going. And I was going to say, one of the things is, we want to make sure that you're reaching your goals, because not everybody wants to start a big business. Maybe somebody just wants to start a side hustle. And so with that, I want to go right into our poll, and I want to say, I just want everybody to raise your hand. And I've been told by Awista that is possible. Who here in the room wants to start either a full-time business, or they are just interested in, or so maybe what I should say is, we'll break it up in two. Who's here? Raise your hand who is interested in starting a full-time business. Okay, all right. I see those hands going up. I don't know if they stay up, but okay, all right. Everybody's reaching we're wondering, how do I raise my hand on here? It's up here in the top bar. If you guys are wondering. Okay, sounds good. Oh, we even got a thumbs up. All right, I like that. Okay, so if you guys could clear real quick, and of the other folks, who's here are interested in just making an additional income on the side? Okay, I think we had probably about 8 people on that were interested in that. And okay, and I think we have 5, 6 people that are kind of interested in making additional income. For the other folks, I'm going to think you're just here just to learn, and that's totally fine, right? Our classes, that's what we always say in our classes, that it's good to come and just learn, because you never know when you're going to use this information. So even if you're not going to start a business, you're not interested in starting a business, maybe you don't know if it's even right for you, it's still good to come and learn. It will help you out in in your life, in your work world, just increasing your education and knowledge of these issues. So let me just real quickly, because this is a real general broad area, and talking about creativity. And creativity goes to the topic that we're talking about today. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will say that I'm not a creative person. And so because of that, I can't think of a business idea. And so let me first say, okay, what is, creativity? And so the definition of creativity is just the ability to come up with new and original ideas, to think outside the box, and to approach problems in novel ways. And maybe you say, oh, that doesn't sound like me. That's that, I'm just not creative. But I will tell you that it's really a myth that that people aren't creative. Um, Creativity is a tool that can be learned. There are like whole university programs, like Stanford has a program called, they call it the D School. D stands for design, but it's all about building the creativity muscles in people. So it's taking and using exercises, and just like you would go for any other type of program, it's really helping you flex those muscles of creativity. So that's the first thing: is don't think that that you're not not creative, and so you can't come up with ideas. Creativity can be learned, and it's really just like anything else. It's just like exercise. It's just like math. It's really what we want you to do is start flexing those creativity muscles. Start practicing, and by practicing, you'll surprise yourself about how creative you are. And creativity is also not only about coming up with new and original ideas. I'm just going to mention a tool that we use in the larger class that we really don't have time to expound on in this presentation. But creativity can also be taking ideas that are already out there and combining them in different ways, right? You'll see that that's what a lot of people do on things like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but like when I'm watching YouTube and I see somebody that's doing, like, become a YouTube star, and maybe they're not a big star that everybody knows, but they're making money on YouTube and they're doing a topic that I'm really into, right? And I just think about, man, why didn't I think of that? And all they've done is they've just taken their interest in this one area and they've paired it with YouTube, and now they've created a YouTube business, based on their interest, right? It's just taking two different things. So what are different things can you take in your business that are out there? Not just in your business, right? What are different components? Your interest, maybe the way that you can deliver your interest, whether that's going to be teaching, whether that's going to be delivering the product. And Lynn's going to go into that, so I don't want to spoil all this, but that's really, that's really a lot of, what creativity is. It isn't just coming up with these things that nobody has ever thought of, right? And really, and that's not really what's the important thing anyway with creativity, at least when it comes to your business. What's really important to your business, even if you're copying somebody, and but you're putting your own spin on it, it's really what's going to work for you in your business. And that's really what we're trying to get you to do, to think about in creativity, and being creative, in generating these business ideas. And there's other things that we can say with creativity. It's not necessarily a solitary thing. It's not something that you have to do alone. That's kind of that Stanford D School model where people get together and they start collaborating. And through this collaboration, different people are bringing different, their own interests, their own experiences, their own expertise, and they're bouncing off a problem. So be seeking out people when you are doing this. This idea generation, seek out people to bounce ideas off of, right? You've always heard that phrase, bouncing ideas off of people. That's one of the things I would say, if we have to put down a first tool, think of other people. And not just, it has to be like, a mentor or somebody who is, very successful in business. There's lots of people that, if you're doing this on a regular basis, you're bouncing ideas off of people, you're going to get good feedback that you're going to be able to use, to refine your ideas, right? Because obviously, if you just go to one person, they may agree with everything you say. You go to your mom, you tell her your idea. Oh, honey, that's so great, right? So you also want to go to your neighbor that, that's a little crotchety next door, right? Or down the road, or go to that elder,
you know, down at the elder center and say, okay, what do you think about this? And then you maybe go to the, you know, go to the high school, right? Because they're a little judgmental, you know, but you're getting these different opinions, and you're able to bounce these ideas. What we often find in our classes is that a lot of people, they don't want to say their idea. They think that that even if they have an idea, they don't want to talk about it because, you know what, somebody's going to steal it, and they're going to lose their $1 million idea. Sometimes that happens, but for the most part, it's not the idea. It's really the execution of the idea. So what we're thinking about in this class is really generating lots of ideas, and then we narrow those down to one idea that you can at least start working on, and start that next process of building the business plan and start executing to see if it's right for you, right? Because that's what, it's not just building the, you know, okay, we got to get the $1 million idea. We got to find what's right for you. And that's what our goal is in this class. I'm just going to mention a couple tools here that we use, and I'm going to type them right here into the chat box. So one of the tools, and so you're really going to have to go look these up because we don't have a lot of time to talk about these, but one is Scamper. That's one of the things that we always talk. It's very confusing, very hard to even explain. So that's definitely something that you should go look at. But Scamper stands for substitute. That's the S. Combine, adapt, modify. P is put to another use. E is eliminate, and R is rearrange. And that's just a creativity tool where you can see your, like, I'll just take one of the words, you're modifying something, right? What's out there? How can I modify that? That can become a business idea. Okay. And this doesn't have to be just business ideas. This is just, Scamper is a great tool just in creativity. So any problem that you're having that you need to generate some ideas, Scamper is a great tool. All right. And you've heard about some of these other tools I'm going to talk about. You probably haven't heard about Scamper, but brainstorming. There's so many people that don't have an idea, but won't sit down and just let their mind go and dump out all their ideas on paper. Just by putting some stuff down on paper is going to be very good for you, right? So brainstorming is something that we recommend in our classes. Another tool is mind mapping. Okay, just and mind mapping, it's a lot like these Post-it notes are up there, right? You start with an idea in the center. Here's creativity. What are some things? What are some thoughts that you're getting? You'd be surprised when you start taking these ideas out of your head and putting them down on paper, how more ideas come out, right? And maybe what it is like you have this backlog of information out there, and you have to get some of that out and onto paper so that the other ones that are in the pipeline can come to the front and expose themselves to you. Okay. I know that sounds a little crazy, a little mystical, but believe me, tools like brainstorming, mind mapping, doing the Scamper method, these are all cool things that are definitely tools that can help you in your whole creative walk, not just in generating business ideas. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to help you start right now in doing your creativity. We're going to help you think outside the box. Okay, we got this little exercise, and so this is going to be a little bit of a competition. So we want the first person that knows how to do it raise their hand and say they got it, and I'm going to be monitoring, and maybe even just put in the chat box, because the chat box is a little easier for me to notice. So the first person just write, I got it, right? When we see somebody that says I got it, we're going to call on them, and we want you to explain the answer to us. If people don't get it, I'm not going to drag this out, because we're going to be sitting here, and I don't want people to be sitting here with a bunch of dead air, but I will start to give hints at about a minute in, and every 10 seconds or so, I'll give you another hint until we have somebody that gets it. Okay, so our exercise is think outside the box. I want you guys to take a sheet of paper, anything just in front of you. Here's 9 dots I'd just like you to put on a sheet of paper. Very easy, right? So you can do this on almost anything. Just so hopefully you have a sheet of paper, and if you don't have a sheet of paper, you have this on some sort of screen. We're going to leave this up. Use your finger. But basically what we're asking you to do is we want you to draw 4 straight lines, okay? And you can't pick up your pencil. So the straight lines have to go from one to, you put it on one dot and you go and you never pick it up. But what you're supposed to do is connect all the dots by making 4 straight lines without lifting your pencil and without retracing along any line. Okay, so you get 4 straight lines, can't lift your pencil, and you can't retrace, and you need to connect all the dots. So with that, I'm going to say go for it. And I'm going to get my timer out here on my phone, and in about a minute, I'm going to give a hint. And if somebody says they got it, I'm going to ask Owista to unmute them, and we'll have them explain the solution to us. And if anybody doesn't understand what the rules are, okay, we want to connect all the dots by making 4 straight lines. So some people in our class have made curved lines. Curved lines are not acceptable, right? Have to be 4 straight lines. You can't lift your pencil, right? So you can't just draw, right? Because obviously if you could lift your pencil, you could draw 3 straight lines through these and be able to connect all of them. So you can't lift your pencil, and you can't retrace, right? So you can't go back over a line, right? Because you could just draw something like an E, right? And if you could draw an E, that would connect all the lines. But an E, if you're not lifting your pencil, right, you would have to retrace one of those lines to get back to be able to complete the E. So that's why we say you can't retrace. So we want you to connect up all dots. Okay, so it's been a minute. So I'm going to start with my first clue. Josh, yes. I know you can do it in 5, but we need you to do it in 4. Isn't there like a quiz show like that? Okay, so I'm starting right here. I don't know if you guys could see my little dot up there. There's my little red dot. So I'm just starting there. Okay, in about 15 seconds, I'm going to give another hint. And I'm just going to start. Now, my lines may not be super straight, but pretend they're straight, because that's okay. Okay, I'm doing my next thing. So I'm not taking my finger off of the mouse. So consider this the pencil is continuing to be in a straight line. Okay, and Lynn is monitoring the box if you want to raise your hand. So raise your hand or type into the chat box. Okay, I'm drawing my next line. Now, excuse me, I'm continuing on with my line because these are hints. Okay. Do about 15 seconds, do another. Nobody? Okay. All right, I think this is the one that gets everybody. They'll go, oh. Okay, that's my first line. I've completed my first line. I'm gonna go. Actually, I go a little bit out here. Hopefully that will draw. There we go. That's my first line. Anybody? Anybody? I see some movement down there. I don't know if anybody's raising their hand. Madiana, is the thumbs up mean I got it? Or Oh, Mariana went away. Okay. All right. So next hint. Here we go. Okay, I gotta on my computer. I gotta make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, here we go. And we're starting our second line. Hopefully that will draw here in a second. Okay, I'm continuing on. There we go. Apologize for my squiggly hand. A little easier to draw across with my mouse. I am doing this with the mouse, by the way, guys. Okay. Here we go. There is my second line. There is my second line. Anybody? I'm assuming you guys are getting it. You probably don't want to come off mute. Totally fine. So I'm gonna go up here now and complete my line. Hopefully it's moving
Stephanie's
up.
got it.
Oh, Stephanie's got it. Well, Stephanie, you want to?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just go up to the dot where you started and then you do a diagonal to the right.
Okay. And then like this way down here?
Yeah. Oh, but you can't intersect.
Oh, no, you can intersect.
You can intersect. Oh, okay.
Yes, intersecting is fine. Tracing is not. So we didn't trace. As you can see, we just went right down there. So this was 1. This was 2. This is 3. And then this is the 4th. All right, perfect. Stephanie, send us your email information. You can do a
Send it to
message.
me in a private chat. Yeah.
Yeah, to Lynn,
Okay.
and we'll send you a Amazon gift card.
Awesome.
It pays to participate, guys. So, okay, alrighty.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So, just a silly exercise, but you know what we're trying to get you guys to do, right? We're thinking outside the box. As you can see, these lines went outside the box. That's what we're trying to get you to do when we're doing business idea generation. So I'm about to turn it over to Lynn. But what I want to do, I want to talk a little bit about, I hope I've kind of opened your mind about some different things, about like, you know, the fact that we're going to be using creativity in small business. But let's talk about some of the rules as we go, or some of the places we're going to be looking. So you can see there's not an easy, it's XYZ, here's where the idea is. We have to, it's a really we're taking in a lot of different things from a lot of different sources. We're synthesizing these, hard word to say, by doing things like mind mapping, doing Scamper, talking to people. And then we are, we come up with this big group of ideas, and then we're going to evaluate, and we'll talk about that. So, but one of the things I want to say is I want you guys to expose yourself to new experiences. This is one of the best ways to start generating new ideas, right? Because if you say, well, I don't have any ideas, that's because you are stuck in a rut. You're like, well, you've already worked through all the ideas that you know about, and you don't have anything else to bring to the table. So what do you need to do? You need to start bringing in additional things into your life that's going to allow you to start experiencing more things. And then now you can start synthesizing, like another hard pronunciation of that word, but you can start synthesizing these things and, and take the things from your personal experiences that you had before, and you can say, oh, now I see there's this new thing on the horizon. I have this expertise. I can create this business, right? So that's why we want you to expose yourself to new experiences, and also information. So travel is very good. I have this real quick story. I don't know. This is in more of the big businesses, and it's kind of cooled down quite a bit. but it comes up every so often, this frozen yogurt fad, right? But there was this one company called Pinkberry, and Pinkberry was this real popular thing. You would see it like on TV shows on MTV. But before Pinkberry came around, there was a company called Red Mango, and Red Mango was a frozen yogurt company. And where they got their idea is because they had traveled to South Korea, and they had relatives in South Korea, and really tart frozen yogurt was very popular there. And they brought that tart frozen yogurt back here to America, started the company Red Mango. Now, actually, Pinkberry saw what they were doing and actually started their own company, and Pinkberry actually became the market leader. But so sometimes it's just even copying, being out there and seeing these new businesses. But you can see there's multiple ways that exposing yourself to new experiences created businesses, right? Travel into South Korea created that first business of Red Mango by Pinkberry noticing what are these new restaurants that are out there. Ooh, I like that. Boom, they start a business, right? So be thinking about, okay, what are things that you might enjoy, whether it's travel, trying new restaurants, even just going into new businesses. I'm not saying spend a lot of money here. One of the things that I love to do is when I see a new business or I see a business talked about like in the papers, and that isn't in my local community. If I'm in a different community and it has one of those businesses, sometimes I just want to walk inside and see how they're doing things. And so that's and if I don't buy anything, it doesn't cost me any money, right? But that's a real cool way to see how other people are doing it, and that will spark ideas. Another way is an even cheaper way, and is just by searching the internet, reading books, reading magazines, right? Going to a library. What are things in there that people are doing all around the country? Reading ideas, those will give you ideas, and will help you with that idea generation process. So very serious about this, right? Find ways to expose yourselves to new experiences and new information. Okay. So generate, don't evaluate. So we're going to have a couple rules here as we start the idea generation process. Okay. So one of the things
Don't forget to change the slide.
Oh, that would definitely help. There we go. I changed it on my, I flipped my paper and I was just reading from the paper. So I apologize about that. You guys can't see my paper here with my notes. But anyway, so generate, don't evaluate. I'm actually going to mention 3 different ones. I don't have them all written up here. And by the way, we do have a workbook with our larger class that we do, and we have that in the files. So feel free to check that out. A lot of this stuff is in, all of this stuff is in that workbook, but obviously we can't cover everything, but we're giving you the highlights today. And I want to mention 3 things as we go and we start to generate ideas. That's what Lynn's going to really talk about. She's going to bring us into some subject matter areas to talk about how to generate these ideas, but some rules that I want you guys to think about, or some suggestions. I'm not going to say the rules. One is generate, don't evaluate. And we are going to evaluate, but we don't want you to evaluate just yet. We want you to really get a lot of ideas, because you do not know where that one idea is going to be the real winner. And this goes to don't make assumptions, right? It's part of that evaluation piece. I come up with this idea. That's stupid. That'll never work. It's too big for me. Don't make that assumption yet. You may get to our evaluation phase and realize, okay, it's not going to work. It's not going to work in my community. It's not going to, I don't have the expertise. I don't want to do that business. That's totally fine. But now get that idea down on paper. You never know when that'll morph into something that will work for you, right? So generate, don't evaluate, don't make assumptions. And just the last one is, it goes along the same line of overcoming habitual thinking. We get into this kind of thought pattern of, oh, it's got to be this way or only this thing will work. That's one of the reasons why we're trying to get you to get a lot of this stuff down and out of your brain and into paper, because when you do that, you will see connections. You will generate new ideas that you didn't think were possible. You will see things. It just creates it creates a larger just a larger canvas of which these ideas can be created on. And when you're doing habitual thinking, what you do is you get into this model, just like making assumptions. It's not going to work, right? So we want you to avoid that. Okay. So and I just wanted to mention this to you guys. So there was these two guys, Brian and Joe, and they had just moved to a new city, and they were unemployed. They were having trouble paying the rent, and they were looking for a way to earn some extra cash. At the time, there happened to be a large conference that was taking place, and all the hotel rooms in the area were booked. These guys came up with an idea to buy a few air beds, hence our picture here, throw them on the living room floor of their apartment, and offer to let people rent the makeshift sleeping spaces for $80 a night. And just in case sleeping on the blow-up mattress on the floor with other strangers wasn't enticing enough, they decided to make breakfast part of the deal. That was an idea that somebody cooked up. These guys happen to be design students. Do you know what business I'm talking about? Does anybody know? Throw it in the chat box if you know what business I'm talking about. Airbnb. All right, Jennifer, first one. That's right, Airbnb. Now, you could see their humble beginnings. It didn't start with, I'm going to create an app and I'm going to tie in all these different people that own their own house or second vacation home or whatever it is, and all these people are going to get on there. No, they just started with an idea of, hey, all the hotel rooms are booked. We need money. We know people are coming in for this design conference. Maybe we could just do this. And then they tried it out, right? They experimented. That's one of the things is really important, experimentation. So before I turn it over to Lynn, I want to mention another thing that, as we've really been talking about looking external to you, right? We're taking in new information. And we've talked about some different rules as you start generating these business ideas. But one of the things I want you to be thinking about as well is identifying pain points. And so first, what are pain points? So pain points are just frustrations that you have in any everyday life. And it's not just you, it's everybody has different pain points, right? So a pain point could be something like, I'm hungry. How am I going to, solve that problem, right? That pain point is that I'm hungry. And you could, you guys all know, is when you guys are hungry, how do you solve it, right? There's lots of different ways to solve it. You might make something that you have in, your cabinet, right? Or your refrigerator. You might go out to a sit-down restaurant. You might go to a drive-through. You might call, now there's these delivery services. So if you're in an area where, you can have Uber Eats or DoorDash, right? You could have one of them. They could bring you food. And I'm sure there's even other kind of novel ways that you could, find. And then there's even, even within those different ways that we've talked about, there's like, if we think about in your refrigerator, right? It could be, you've got that food from the grocery store, right? Or you went and got food from something like, now I'm forgetting the name of the, Lynn, do you know what the name of the company is that does that sends you the meals? It just
like HelloFresh is one of the big ones.
Yes, and what
I love that.
Is there one that says Blue?
Blue Apron was
Blue Apron. That's what it is. flew out of my head. Blue Apron, HelloFresh, Blue Apron, right? Even how you get food to yourself that you're going to cook, that you're going to prepare is different ways. So that's what a pain point is. You have these little pain points throughout the day. As we're talking, it could just be pain point after pain point after pain point. For me, the other day, my internet wasn't working. That was a pain point, right? But it could be like, oh, my chair, my chair isn't sitting right. I have, I don't have enough time today to do all of my tasks I need to get done, right? Both at work, but then maybe even in my personal life. All those things are pain points. And what we can do as a business is solve those pain points for other people. And that will allow us to start businesses based on that. And so what we're doing is one of the main things that we want to do is we want to identify these pain points. Okay, so that's one of the first things, because if we can't identify the pain points, if we don't get in the habit of identifying the pain points, then we won't be able to find the pain points, right? And so we want to find these pain points. But I will say this, pain points won't, not every pain point is a business. Like if my chair isn't working, right, or it's I may not, but it takes, let's say, $50 to fix my chair. I'm not willing to pay that. Maybe some people are, but not everybody, right? And there may be something that could be just something, my neighbor, my neighbor is doing his the air blower real loud, right? Well, the pain point is, right, you want him to be quiet. Now, are you going to pay somebody to go tell him that? No, you may probably just going to tell him yourself, or maybe you're just going to put a pillow over your head and hope that he stops soon. So not every business is, not every pain point is going to become a business, or is going to be a business that pays you enough money to make it worthwhile, right? But by identifying these pain points, each one of these pain points is an idea. So if you can identify pain points for people, and not just, so first you start with yourself. What are the pain points that I am experiencing? So just like we're talking about in brainstorming and doing all these techniques, be sure you're writing down these pain points. Take a little journal around, right? And as you look about these pain points, and once you have this list, when we go into the evaluation phase, then we can start saying, how do we solve them, right? And what businesses can come out of these businesses, and then which ones are right for me. I know Lynn. Lynn, is are we over time? Should we just turn it over?
Yeah. No, I think we're okay to go ahead and do the exercise if you want to.
Okay. All right, everybody. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly read a story. So I apologize if I move a little quickly. This is in the big workbook. But it's also, I extracted it there and I put it there. It's in file number 3. It's the pain point exercise. So I'm going to read a story.
So if anyone has a pen and paper, it might be handy to have a pen and paper just to jot down as Mark reads the story.
Yes, and you'll be familiar with the person we're talking about, who is the person in the story. I think you'll recognize her pretty soon. And but we're just going to ask a couple of things afterwards. So I'm just going to ask these questions ahead of time so you guys can be thinking about this. So what are the frustrations that Lynn has encountered? And I don't know if you guys know any Lynn's out there, but what are those frustrations, these pain points that Lynn is encountering? And then if we think about how can they be solved? And what types of products or services could be used to alleviate these problems, or things that you maybe been coming up with. So here we go. Identifying pain points. Lynn is a small business trainer who works for the IDRS Acorn Project. Last spring, she was scheduled to conduct small business workshops at several tribes in Northern California. Lynn was excited about her upcoming trip. She had never been to that area before, but had heard her dad talk about the mountains, the ocean, and of course, the magnificent redwoods. And all the places he traveled, Northern California had been his favorite. She knew there would be a significant amount of time spent driving to the various tribes she would be visiting with. While she was looking forward to seeing the area, she wasn't looking forward to driving so much by herself, and invited her dad to come along. It would be great to spend the time with him anyway. To make the trip more comfortable, she decided to rent a house instead of staying in a hotel. Lynn often chose to stay in home rentals versus hotels when traveling for work. It was more comfortable and allowed her to cook meals instead of dining alone in a restaurant. When they arrived, she got her dad settled in and left to find a market, soon realizing the nearest grocery store was 36 miles from their house rental. After flying all day, she was dreading the excursion. She considered just going out for dinner at a little cafe a few miles down the road. However, she still had to make sure her dad had food for the next day while she was training at the reservation. She had no choice. She had to go shopping. The shopping trip took her much longer than expected, an hour of running circles in the unfamiliar market trying to locate everything she needed. To make matters worse, it was raining so hard on the way back, she could barely see the road. It took her almost an hour and a half to make the 36-mile drive back. She finally arrived at the house, making 2 trips to the car in the pouring rain to unload the groceries. After peeling off her wet clothes and getting into her pajamas, she headed to the kitchen to prepare dinner. She had decided to fix shrimp scampi. Not only was it her dad's favorite, it was an easy dish to prepare. All she needed to do was add a little butter, white wine, and fresh garlic. Oh no, she forgot to get garlic. 2 days later, Lynn started packing so that she could be on their way to their next location. She opened the refrigerator and frowned. What am I going to do with all this food? She had never made it back to the store, so the shrimp hadn't been eaten. The gallon of milk was still half full. There was almost a full package of bologna, half a box of pancake mix, almost a full gallon of Tillamook ice cream, not to mention condiments like butter, sugar, and syrup. She loaded everything that might stay fresh on the day-long drive and threw the rest in the trash, frustrated about throwing at least $30 worth of groceries away. So I asked you guys, what are some of the pain points that Lynn encountered on her journey there? Okay, I think people are typing in here. So, okay, her travel time, right? Her travel time to the market, it took a long time. Being in unfamiliar territory, right? That increased her time away. Access to food close by. The waste of money, right? The waste of food, first of all, right? Because you didn't want to waste that food, and then of course it costs money that you're just having to throw away. Fact that it's raining, maybe it was unsafe. Now, Jennifer, you mentioned cooking, but I think Lynn loves to cook, so cooking was probably okay. But the fact that she didn't have all the materials there, right, for her meal was probably pretty difficult. Oh, Jennifer doesn't, so she understands. She would have gone right to the restaurant. It's just like my wife, Jennifer. And I'm like, hey, I want to stay home and cook, and she's like, I love it when I get to go to a restaurant. I don't have to have the burden of cooking for all you fools. So, but yeah, so all those are great pain points, right? Those are things that are things that made this trip for her a little less pleasant, right? Things that if she could have chosen different would not have happened to her. How do you think you would have solved anything? So let's, obviously there's lots of different ways that you can solve all those problems. But if let's just take one problem. Let's talk about she's at the Airbnb now, right? She's checked in and she wants to eat. How can we solve this for her? Like what are some different ways? So she wants to cook, right? So right, because we could suggest she just goes to a restaurant, but she wants to cook. How are some different ways that we could solve this? Okay, I see people furiously typing. Okay, so plan ahead, Google the area before arriving. Okay, so that's one way. So think about this and think about as we're solving these are potential businesses that we could be creating. So if we plan ahead, maybe somebody could be creating, here's maybe like a map of the area. And not just a map, but like here's where you can go for these special things, or here's I don't know the whole thing, but hard to come right off the cuff. But it's some sort of like planning, right? You're creating some informational site for the area. Okay, so an Instacart order. So Stephanie, so let's pretend that Instacart doesn't exist. Okay, that's one of the things that we can do. Or maybe Instacart doesn't serve our area, right? So what we can do is we're that delivery service, right? And we can, and maybe we don't want to build a giant website and spend all that money, but maybe somebody can call us up and we could go get something for them. Okay. And Jennifer mentions that of grocery delivery services. Just because we're limited on time, here's some of the things when we do this exercise in class, just some of the things that I think about is that as the Airbnb owner, earlier we were talking about that business idea generation is not just for creating whole new businesses, right? It's also for creating, we mentioned the restaurant and creating a different menu item, but this could be any product within your business. And I think as that Airbnb, operator, he could have, he or she, they could have frozen meals that are available. Or ingredients in the refrigerator, right? That could be a secondary business. And then he charges Lynn based on what she uses, right? And then that reduces waste. It reduces the time. She's probably willing to pay more than she would pay in the grocery store, right? And I know that some people did this. I happened to stay at, there was a conference in Kansas City that I went to, stayed at a Airbnb, and they had like things like eggs in the refrigerator. And I think if you wanted to use an egg, it was $1, right? And you could see that was pretty expensive because you could probably buy a dozen for, $3, right? If you eat 12 eggs, that's $12. But if I want to eat 3 eggs in the morning, it's cheaper than going out to a restaurant. And I didn't have to waste the time and the convenience. It's right there. I just cook it open. So that's one type of business, right? Having somebody in that in the community that makes pre-prepared meals. And I know that's not technically cooking, but maybe there's meal kits that Lynn could utilize, right? And somebody prepares those pre-prepared meal kits, and they do it specifically for travelers, right? And that could be something because this is a travel area. But this is I hope this is the reason why we wanted to do this exercise, is because this is one of the ways. As you can see, all we did is we took a scenario, we started identifying pain points, and then we started trying to solve those pain points. And then once we solve those pain points, we think about, okay, now we have these business ideas. Are those things that we want to do? And we can evaluate those for feasibility and all that stuff. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But you can see that here's another technique. So I hope I've left you with a few techniques. And now I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. So I'm sorry, Lynn, as always, I get long-winded and I push your time, but I'm going to, take the time that you need to go through your presentation. I know that we could give Awista the time to come back at 30 minutes past the hour to do her.
Yeah, no problem. And so you can actually see, we actually come up with business ideas for every pain point I encountered, including the rain. So you can download that workbook, and I believe all the ideas that we come up with are also there in the workbook. So up to this point, Mark has been sharing, really the guidelines and rules for generating business ideas. So now what I want to do is actually show you some very specific strategies that you can use to generate your own business ideas, and share examples of how other Native entrepreneurs are using these strategies to create their business. Okay, go ahead and put it to the next slide. So the first strategy is, to look around in your community and find what's missing. What is it, possibly that a product or a service that you're always needing, and there's no one in the community that offers it. So sometimes you have to end up driving to, another community or to the nearest city to get what it is you need. But I'll tell you that, one of the best places to start is to see what products or services your tribe needs that others in the community aren't already providing. Because all tribes have the need for various products and services. They need to keep current facilities cleaned and maintained. A lot of times our tribes are building new facilities. So they're going to have, construction services and things, that they're going to want to purchase. A lot of our tribes have casinos and restaurants. So just, our tribes are government. So just think about everything they're purchasing. I mean, food, linens, especially like the casinos, products that they can give away. Our tribes also have a lot of programs that provide services to tribal members. And some of these services, they actually want to outsource to other businesses. They don't want to provide it in-house. And so, Mark, I'm going to let you attempt to play this video. And if it is too slow, we can stop it. But I think y'all tested it beforehand. And it's going to be okay.
You have to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share with this audio. And I think this will do it. Okay, so hopefully, and I'm going to hit play, and here we go.
My business is Hitman Chimney Cleaning. We've been in business for around 12 years now. And
okay, it's not going to work, Mark.
It was kind of a fluke how I got into it. Our housing authority for the tribe asked if I could do some cleaning for them, and I told them I just do my own.
Okay, Lynn, you wanted me to stop it?
Yeah, go ahead and stop it. So let me just explain.
Okay.
So this is Howard Teasley, and he started a chimney cleaning business because it was a service that his tribe needed to offer, but they didn't want to offer it directly in-house. So what happened is the housing authority, Howard actually worked for his tribe's housing authority, and they came to him and they said, "Hey, Howard, could you do some chimney cleaning, for us? Because we have all these elders that are on our firewood program, and we need to make sure that everything is safe. And so we need their chimneys clean." And Howard is like, "Well, I clean my own chimney at home, but really I'm just like, I know how to do it, but I just do it for myself." And the tribe was like, "Well, hey, if you would be willing to, start a business and doing this for us, we can really help you out." So Howard decided, sure, okay, yeah, I'm going to give it a try. So he, had most of the equipment because he was already doing his own at home. And so he started Hitman Chimney Cleaning, and a lot of his work is through the tribe cleaning elders' chimneys that are on the firewood program. And so Howard cleans, I think he said at the time I did this interview with him, about 100 chimneys a year for the tribe. And he doesn't just do it for the tribe. His business has expanded. And so he's actually serving the entire area, not just tribal members. And, I think that this is great because it's just exactly what we were talking about, that our tribe is constantly needing different products and services. And a lot of times, either they don't want to do it themselves, or there's not someone in the community that's already providing that. And so they're having to go out to outside the community. And a lot of times, in fact, I would say probably most of the time, to non-native businesses to get the products and services that they need. So take a look and see what it is that your tribe needs, and if you can create a business filling that need. And I'm just going to say, I hate that we couldn't play the whole video, but an interesting point, as I mentioned, Howard was already working for the housing authority when he started this business. So one thing that he was able to do, while he was chimney cleaning, he was actually able to do inspections at the homes, which were part of his regular job. So you can just see how different things tie together in your life. And if you just look close enough, a lot of times you can link something that you're currently doing to your job, or a skill that you've learned on your job or somewhere, and actually create a business from it. I also wondered too, I'm like, oh, they have that firewood program. I wonder who's providing the firewood. for this program, because I'm sure that is a whole nother business opportunity, because the tribe, the housing authority is probably not sending their people out into the woods to cut wood. And so that's probably, another service that they're hiring somebody else to do. So a good place, if you don't mind going to the next slide, Mark, a good place to start looking at the products and services that your tribe is purchasing is to talk to people who is in charge of the procurement for those different departments. And some tribes, like my tribe, the Cherokee Nation, may also have a website that lists all the RFPs for the products and services that they need for different arms of the tribe. So if you go to Cherokee Nation procurements, you can search and see, well, what are Cherokee Nation businesses purchasing? What are the casinos purchasing? The health facilities, the housing authority. So this is a great place to start your search. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide. Mark, did you hear me?
Yes, Lynn, is it not showing? Like I'm seeing here, it's hobbies and interests.
It's not showing on my side.
It's showing on our side, hobbies and interests.
Okay, now it's showing.
Oh,
Okay.
and Len, I wonder if there was something going on. It was delaying on the video because I think everybody else was hearing the video before with Howard.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
so sorry about
I
that.
apologize. Yeah, maybe you could get the link or something here in a minute. And
like after Awista does her closing, I'm more than happy to play it at the end if whoever wants to stay on, and we can play it at the end.
Okay, that sounds good. So another strategy for creating business ideas is to focus things that you really enjoy spending time on. So think about your hobbies. Do you like to do yoga? Do you like to go fishing? Are you, one of those people that like to do beadwork or bake? Chances are that whatever your hobby or interest is, there's going to be other people who share that interest as well. So think about the different levels of interest and abilities of those who share the same interest as yourself. And so I'll kind of explain here, like, if you're someone who is taking an interest in doing beadwork, you might be a novice, right? You might be someone who's really new to learning the skill. So you're not at that expert level, you're just kind of a novice. But then there are also those who may be very expert beadworkers and is very adept at that trade, that skill, or that craft. And this could be for anything. Or, it may be someone that just is an admirer. I love to purchase beadwork, but there's some of the beadwork I don't necessarily want to do. And so I think that whatever, hobby or interest we kind of have these three different levels of potential customers that we can connect with. And so we just need to think, well, what kind of businesses could be created to fill the needs of people in these categories? So what I want you to do is type into the chat. Think about it for a minute. If you were someone who was a beater and you wanted to create some kind of business that catered to the novice, right? That you're trying to think of, what can I do? What kind of business can I create that will help the people who are just starting to learn how to beadwork do it better or make it easier for them? So just think about that for a second and then type some ideas over here into the chat. Oh, Belinda, I love that sip and paint, the sip and bead. Yeah, I actually hadn't thought about that one. But obviously, like doing classes is an excellent way. Because we all know that, like, doing beadwork is extremely time consuming. And, maybe you think to yourself, well, actually creating business beaded items and selling them is not what I want to do, because, I would be beading all the time and it takes forever. But yeah, just going out and teaching classes. It could be in-person classes like you're suggesting here. It could be virtual classes. In fact, I learned how to do peyote stitch virtually. That's how I learned to do that beadwork. And once I learned how to do that beadwork, I started realizing, wow, there are other people in my community that, graduation is coming up, and people want to have, give their kids some beaded feathers for graduation. And so I actually did a class after learning myself virtually. I did an in-person class for people in my community, and I had 2 sessions. Each session was 3 hours long. I charged $25 a person. So for 6 hours of my time, I ended up making $600 teaching people how to bead a feather for their graduate. So simple, it's just all kinds of different opportunities there. So Adriana says outdoor bike tours and repairs. Yeah. Especially if you are living in those places where, people are like to get outdoors, and, maybe there's some bike trails and stuff, offering that kind of service. Every time I travel to a community, I'm constantly thinking about business ideas like that, because I'm going to a community and maybe, like I remember when I went to Idaho, I was like, oh man, I would love to go camping, but I'm not going to drag all my camping equipment on an airplane. It's like, why can't someone in the community offer like a camping package? Like they go set up a tent, make sure I have some, basic supplies and stuff there. Or, when I did take my dad to California, I really wanted to take him fishing so bad. Was there someone in the area that could have offered fishing guide service, or if nothing else, just a place where I could have gone and rented like a fishing pole and some bait, so we could go down on the beach and piddle around and do some of our own fishing on our own. So all different kinds of opportunities. And the thing I love about doing businesses based on hobbies and interests is because it just makes it that more enjoyable. And in this photo, this is actually a picture. Her name is Roxanne Best. She's there in the black bathing suit. Roxanne is just one of those people that I always admire, because she has all these different ideas, and she actually puts them into action. And Roxanne just has this mindset. She's like, I don't want to be locked into, an 8 to 5 job that I don't like. Every day I want to be doing something that I love, and something that is going to excite me. So Roxanne takes her hobbies and her interest, and she figures out how to make money on that. So she loves yoga. She loves stand-up paddle boarding. So what did she do? She went out, bought a bunch of paddle boards, and created a business providing stand-up paddleboard yoga classes there on her reservation. Next slide. And not only does she love paddleboarding and yoga, she also loves photography. So Roxanne also has a business where she does things like senior photos. I've seen her do product photography. So she does that as a business as well. And not only does she take photos, but now she also teaches other people how to do it. So we have an Etsy entrepreneurship class that we teach, and Roxanne comes in as part of that class and teaches people how to use their iPhone to create product photos. So that's just yet another way that she's making money and creating a business doing something that she really loves and enjoys. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we covered, look at what's missing in your community, especially within your tribe. We just talked about examining what your hobbies and your interests are. And now I want you to think about skills and experience, because skills are another area to examine for potential business opportunities. You know, each of us have our own set of unique skills. We acquire skills, you know, through our life experiences, whether it's formal or informal. And so here are some areas that you can think about when you're exploring your skill set. Do you have any kind of trade skills, you know, such as carpentry, mechanics, or construction? Have you worked at a job to where you maybe learned financial management or project management, sales, or marketing? For those of you who may be like stay-at-home moms, think about those life skills that you have, you know, learning how to take care of children, cooking, gardening, how to do home improvement projects. You know, all of this are things that can help you generate business ideas. You know, like you may have learned special skills such as how to use computer programs or operate certain types of equipment. Like someone who knows how to use Adobe InDesign could provide graphic design services to business, you know, and help them create flyers, posters, or brochures. Maybe they could even work like with the local tech schools. I know the tech schools in my area do this. They'll hire someone to come in and do like short classes to teach other people in the community, you know, how to use like Adobe InDesign or how to use Excel, things of that nature. Perhaps maybe even you've worked for a business in the past and that business really struggled at finding a suitable vendor to supply products or services they needed for their operations. You know, if that happened, you know, what maybe you could come in and be that vendor, kind of like we were talking about becoming a vendor for the tribe. See what other businesses in your area need. And if there's some place where there's a gap where you can step in and provide, you know, some kind of products or services, it may be that the businesses in your area need lawn care, right? They need someone to come in and take care of the outside of the business. Maybe they need someone to come in and wash windows or do window art. You know, there's all kinds of little ideas out there. And, you know, maybe you've worked for a business or somewhere and you realized, you know what? I really don't think that they're doing that great a job at meeting the needs of our customers. And so maybe you go out and you start a competing business and because you know that you can do the job better. So I actually have a friend. Her name is Mary Beth Timothy. She's a Cherokee artist, and she combined her hobby of creating art and combined it with her experience of working in a museum gift shop. And so she started a business where she creates original art and then uses that artwork to create a variety of products, which she sells online and through different gift shops in the area. So this is an example of one of her paintings. I think this may actually be like she may have done this with colored pencil, but one of her pieces of art. And then Mark, if you can just kind of slowly go through the next slides and we'll show some examples. So that piece of art that she created, she takes that art and she prints it on different items. So you can see here that sunflower piece that she created. She's printed that on earrings, on necklaces, on cuff bracelets. Her husband, John, is also an artist. So they've taken his designs as well, put them on t-shirts. They do mouse pads. So she's really taking a skill that she has, which is the ability to create beautiful works of art, and the experience that she's had of working like in tribal art museums and different places. And so knowing that, hey, these are the kind of products that these gift shops are looking for. And we always had a hard time finding, you know, these items from Native artists. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to start creating these items myself and then selling them to the gift shops. Okay, Mark, go ahead. All right. So now let's turn our focus to natural and cultural resources. And these are my favorite types of businesses because, Mark was talking earlier about how small businesses are really important to the tribal economy, right? So that way your dollars aren't leaving the community, you're keeping them in by purchasing from each other. The reason I love these types of businesses that are based on natural and cultural resources is because they're actually bringing outside dollars into the community. And that's even better than keeping those existing dollars from leaving. But Indian country provides numerous opportunities to create businesses that cater to tourists. And so many people are traveling to Indian country because they're really looking for a cultural experience and opportunities to learn, things such as Native American cooking, crafts, games. People are just fascinated with Native culture. And in addition to cultural experiences, they're also looking just to enjoy the natural resources that are located within or near Native communities. So many of us live in really beautiful places and have a lot of natural resources that we can share. So think about it, what aspects of your culture can you openly share with others that they are willing to pay for? Do you live in an area which provides opportunities for sightseeing, for outdoor activities? Even if you don't live near a location like the Grand Canyon, there's always going to be beautiful areas where you live, which are off the beaten path, and visitors won't typically know about them. But those are the kind of places that a lot of visitors are really looking for. For me, when I go to different communities, especially in the summertime, I'm like, man, I just want to find a really great swim hole. I don't want to be where everybody else is going. Like, I wish someone would show me around and take me to one of those, dirt road areas where there may be, down at the creek, a good place to go swimming. So think about those opportunities. The lady you see here, her name is Stacia Morphine, and she lives on the Nez Perce Reservation. And she realized that non-native tour guides in her area were catering to all the tourists in the area, which is the same area that the Nimipu have called home for 1,000 years. And although the tribe recognized, right, the tribe itself, they knew that they needed to have their story told by their own people. But it was really an aspect of tribal tourism that they really felt they could get into. And so Stacia, she saw this opportunity and decided to start a tourism company. And so she started providing visitors to the area with a more genuine cultural experience, because these people were coming to the area. They wanted to learn about the Nez Perce tribe, the Nimipu history. That's where Lewis and Clark came through. But before Stacia, they were really not getting a genuine experience, because the only people that were offering tourism services were people who were not tribal members. So one way that the thing that Stacia actually started out by doing was hosting small events. And she called these Dinner with the Nez Perce. And so what she would do is she would sell tickets to this dinner, and visitors would come and eat at the dinner. They'd get to eat some traditional food. They would get to hear traditional stories, and they would get to experience other aspects of the Nimipu culture. So, she would have the drum group come in, and she would have, maybe someone come in and do one of their powwow dances. And so that's how Stacia actually got started. And then I believe after a while, she actually purchased the van that you see in this picture here. And so that way she was able to start providing private tours of the reservation to people. Go ahead and turn it to the next slide. And you'll see that Stacia is starting small, and she's getting bigger as her business grows, and she's starting to do new things. So after doing, Dinner with the Nez Perce, after getting the van, then she also realized, hey, there's this opportunity because we have Hell's Canyon here. So there's jet boat operators that are taking visitors, up and down through Hell's Canyon. which again is just a place where her people had been for thousands of years. And so she partnered with the local jet boat operator and started providing special tours that really focused on sharing the history of her people. And today, Stacia actually owns her own jet boat. So, she had to start out small. She didn't have the money at first to go buy her own boat, but she found a way to partner with someone who did. And now today, Stacia does have her own jet boat, so she can do her own jet boat tours. And go ahead and move it up a slide, Mark. And if that isn't impressive enough, this lady is like my hero. Whenever the pandemic hit, obviously it really affected tourism for all of Indian country. And so her tourism business took a huge hit and was basically shut down. And so she took this opportunity to think, what can I do until we get through this? And so she started a gift shop or boutique, whatever you want to call it, in the town of Lewiston, featuring products that are made by other people in her tribe. And it's called Nez Perce Traditions. And Nez Perce Traditions, as far as I know, it's still, I know it is because I follow her on Facebook. It's still open. It's still active. It's doing great. So now Stacia has, not only the gift shop, but she also has the tourism business where she's doing the jet boat tours and other things for visitors in the area to learn more about the Nez Perce people. Okay, Mark. You can go ahead and turn it. Okay. So I just wanted to give you another example. Again, I think that creating some kind of business based on natural and cultural resources is just a really great idea. And so I wanted to share another example with you. This is Norma. And after retiring from doing social work back in 1999, Norma decided to start a business called The Feasting Place. And at The Feasting Place, she provides cooking classes that are centered in the traditional culinary culture of her pueblo. And she named her business The Feasting Place because preparing and teaching others to make traditional Pueblo feast is really her passion. And she is really a true ambassador of Pueblo food and agricultural traditions, and really has this deep understanding of the meaning and shared sense of humanity that is created or, conveyed through the ritual of sharing a meal. So if you're ever in the Santa Fe area, Norma is actually located on Okewenge, and you can actually go out to Norma's house and partake in one of these cooking classes. You can see here that her and her husband have even an outdoor space where they have their ovens. I think I'm trying to remember the name of them, Horanos or something. Anyway, what a great experience to have. And I actually saw a video of Norma's business, and you could tell from the video she had, a group of probably 40 people there, and it was people from all over the world. So just keep that in mind, that we do have all of these people from different countries that are coming to our native communities, and these are the type of experiences that they are really looking for. Okay, next slide, Mark. So I want to end my portion by having you do an exercise because, it might be really easy to identify opportunities to start a business, that provides people with opportunity. Yes.
I was just wondering, like maybe that we should let Awista do her portion real quick.
Oh, is it time already? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and then then
and this exercise is actually in the workbook too.
Well, yeah. I was just saying, then the exercise, we wouldn't have to rush to get it all in. So, Awista, if you want to take over, and then we'll continue on for just a little bit longer after the presentation, after your closing.
So, actually, I don't mind closing till whenever you guys finish. That's absolutely okay. But I would just like to give everybody a moment now that if you are unable to stay any longer for the webinar, Now is the time. If you would like to jump off, you're more than welcome to. If you can stay past 3:30, because I know most people will come on for the webinars for their lunch break or whatever it may be. If you can stay on, by all means, please stay on. And I'll just go ahead and launch the survey at the very, very end. That's okay with me. You guys can keep going.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that, Lynn. Please keep going.
Okay, no, thanks for keeping check of the time. So for those of you who want to stick around, as I was saying, I know that some of the other examples I gave you, it may be like, well, it's easy to, identify those, but I don't want to start a tourism business, but if you want to look and think, well, what are people that visit my community? What do they need? Is there something else they need? Maybe you don't want to provide cooking classes or jet boat tours, but what else can you do? A great place to go look is TripAdvisor. So for those of you who are not familiar with TripAdvisor, it's a website that you can look pretty much any location in the world up. And it's going to tell you like, well, here's some of the things that are available in this community, and here's what people are saying about it. And so I actually found this review. This was a person that visited Pyramid Lake, which is on the reservation near up in Nevada. And so she wrote, that she had visited Pyramid Lake and this was her experience. And so what I would like for you to do is just read this review and just think, well, what kind of products or services might be offered to people who are visiting this community based on this specific review? And I assume everyone can see this well enough to read it. But if I need to read it, Mark, let me know.
Okay. Well, I guess if somebody cannot read it, yeah, put it in the chat box. I cannot read or can't read or something. We'll read it to you.
Any ideas yet? I see Julie is typing. Yes, camping packages with reef shoes. Yeah, and I know you're saying like, but yes. I mean, obviously, if you read through this, I think that could be a great business idea. There's obviously no place around there, to get food either. So maybe, you have a food truck or something and you set up out by the lake, and maybe instead of just offering food, you also have reef shoes or sunbrellas and sunscreen, all those different kinds of things that people need whenever they're visiting Pyramid Lake, because obviously there is a gap here and there's not a lot available to people who are visiting the area. So that concludes my part of the presentation. I hope, again, we talked about looking at what's missing in your community, examining what your hobbies and interests are, what skills and experience you have, and what you can take advantage of in regards to sharing your culture or helping people enjoy the geographic area that you live in a little bit more. So I'm going to turn it back over to Mark now, because hopefully as we've gone through this presentation, you've already started to generate a lot of different ideas and get those written down on paper. But then you need to know, what in the world are you going to do after you've come up with all of these different ideas? Mark?
Yes. Thanks, Lynn. So I'm not going to go deep into evaluating your ideas because we do have it in the workbook. I don't want to keep you guys any later than I have to, but I do want to mention the important and also give you what are the next steps, because one of the things we don't want to do is, okay, you guys, you've learned a lot of techniques, right? We've talked about brainstorming. We've talked about mind mapping, Scamper, doing pain points. Now you're doing, and you're looking at these different subject matter areas. You got this gigantic list of all these ideas that you could do. Okay, what do I do next, right? And so the next steps is you really start to evaluate these. What are the best ideas? Now, it would take quite some time to run you through all these different tools. So really, what you have to do is you have to kind of go through the list and start picking out what speaks to you. Start there. Are there different ideas that speak to you? And maybe you get a list of 4 or 5. That does not mean that if any of these, let's say 5 that you pick, that you can't go back to the list and get more. It just means we're starting at a place, right? So you pick 5, and then we have several different tools that we have run, people through in the class. How do you start to determine what are the best ideas to move forward with for yourself? One of the tools that we use is a SWOT analysis. SWOT, if you guys aren't familiar with it, stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'll just throw that in the chat. The SWOT analysis, and what we're doing there is we're asking questions about that idea. Is this idea? What are the strengths of this idea, both in the market and with respect to myself, right? Do I have the expertise? And when we're looking at the weaknesses, maybe it takes a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money, right? Those are all the things that we're balancing. That's all the things that are internal to me, the strengths and the weaknesses. And then we look at the outside. What are the opportunities? Is this a product that's going to be hot, right? Is this a business that's going to be in demand? There's nobody in the area that people need this product, but nobody in my area is providing this service, right? Those are all great opportunities. And you look at other things that are out there. Just I don't want to get too too high level here, but it's really, you're looking at kind of even the economic trends out there. Is this something that's going to, what factors are going to make something like this in demand, right? Like, a real easy example is if you wanted to manufacture typewriters, right? And this is the mid 80s, and you're going to spend a lot of money going into the typewriter business. You're about to get a rude awakening, right? Even if you say people in my area need typewriters, right? And so I'm going to build them typewriters for them to use. Well, the personal computer is right around the corner, right? And I know that's a real easy example to talk about. You think, well, heck, who buys a typewriter anymore? But there are these things where you think about, it could be a service, right? Now, this doesn't mean this won't come back again, but if you wanted to go into doing mortgage brokering, right? It was great during the pandemic, right? If you live off res, because I know, that housing is a little different on res, but if you're living like in an urban center and during the pandemic, low interest rates, people were just buying homes left and right, and all of a sudden those interest rates spiked, and now now you don't have a mortgage business really anymore, right? The volume has gone down to almost nothing. So it's also pain, and that's on that threat side. What are those bigger economic things that are going to help you? What are those bigger economic things that are going to hurt you, right? The opportunities and the threats. And so and really what you're doing is you're just doing a cost benefit analysis. You're just weighing the things, weighing those pros and cons. And there's no scientific way. There's nothing I can say is, nope, this is the only business that is right for you, or this is the number one business. Really, it's what is your gut telling you after you've really, weighed these things. Does it feel right for you? There are a couple other things that you can do in evaluating your ideas. We have this in the book, is looking at a competitor analysis. If you're going to go out there in the market, and let's say you're going to start a pizza restaurant, right? So there are very similar competitors to you, probably, right? You probably have other pizza shops in the area. You know, is yours going to be cheaper? Is it going to be, or is it going to be more expensive? But you have more quality products, right? You're really focusing on a certain market. Maybe you're going on the health market. So your pizzas are vegan, they're gluten-free. You could see that's an idea, right? And you're changing up, you're taking pizza and you're adapting it, right? Going back to Scamper, you're adapting that idea. And now you have a whole different product. And it's okay to charge more because you're going after a very niche market, and people expect to pay more if they're going in for something that's that they're a very exclusive health product, right? And so thinking about that, looking out there in the market, is there another health pizza, health, pizza restaurant in the area? Okay, how do I compare to that, right? That's what you're doing when you're doing competitive analysis. You may also, we have some other tools, not necessarily just in this book, but also in business planning when we're looking at break-even analysis. And break-even analysis is looking at how quickly I'm going to be profitable, or I'm going to go to zero, right? You go to zero, right, where you haven't lost money anymore from when you started the business, and looking at, how long is it going to take me to break even on this business? Or even if you're in business, how long is it going to take me to break even on this product? If I have to spend tons and tons of money and it's going to take me years for me to break even, that's a very risky bet. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, right? There may be other reasons to do it. It may be such a reward at the end, it's worth taking that risk. But if it's going to take a long time for you to make your money back, you do have that risk that, things change and people may not want your product any longer, and then you go out of business, right? So it's balancing all those. What we want you to do is, when you're starting a business, we want you to go in with your eyes open, and whatever you come up with as your idea, what we always want you to do is we want you to do business planning, because, and it doesn't have to be 100-page business plan. We know a lot of these businesses don't even make sense to do a 100-page business plan, right? If you're going to start a very small business, maybe you're going to start, you're just taking your art and you're going to be selling it on the Powwow Trail or at art markets or online at Etsy. You don't need to do a 100-page business plan. That doesn't make sense. That's just a waste of time. But it does make sense to be thinking about, what does it cost for my products? How much time does it take to make, to make the products that I'm making? What am I going to charge? What are other people going to charge? All that stuff you're doing in business planning. And we want you to run an idea through that business planning. But the one thing you can't do is, it doesn't make sense building 10 different business plans, right? That's all you'd be doing. You're just wasting a tremendous amount of time in building business plans. That's why this evaluation step, where you're kind of doing some SWOT analysis, you're narrowing it down. Now you do a little feasibility testing, look at competitors in the market. Okay, here's the one idea I'm going to move with. Right now you can build that business plan, and it's easy to move forward. So that's where I think I'm going to leave it. But just want to stress the importance of, of starting and getting these ideas going, doing, narrowing it down, doing some feasibility, choosing one idea, and then moving through with business planning. And you know what? After you do your business planning, it may not work. You may say, it's a loser, right? Okay, back to the drawing board. But you have this whole set of ideas, and maybe you go through some of these processes again to see what's fresh out there. And you can see it can be what they call a virtuous cycle, right? You just keep doing this. It just keeps going. And eventually you're popping out really good, profitable business ideas, and you can do this on a regular basis. Okay.
And Mark, if you don't care, do you care if I just share a couple of examples? And again, if people need to leave and drop off, that's, totally fine. I'm not going to be offended.
Please go ahead.
But, we're just talking about evaluating your business ideas, just a couple of experiences that I've had. So, a few years ago, I wanted to start a business with somebody to create a series of training based on government contracting. And we were just convinced it was the best idea. And I don't think it was a bad idea, but what ended up happening, it was one of those ideas that took a significant amount of time before we could even test it. Okay. Like we had to develop materials. We had to invest in some video equipment, and the business ended up just flopping. After because it took us honestly almost 3 years from idea to even being able to just test it. And so it was a huge waste of time and money. On the other hand, I started another business where I literally threw a craft kit up online through Etsy, and last year made several $1,000s. Like it was not even a thought. It took me no time. It took me no money really to get that started. And then it ended up being the winner. And so, as you're evaluating your different business ideas, that's what I would say is just go for the low hanging fruit. What is it that you can start that's not going to take a huge amount of your time and a huge amount of money, and that you can test really quickly?
Lynn, did we lose you?
No, I was done. Sorry.
Oh, that was it. Oh, okay. No, I thought you had one. I guess those were the two examples. Yes, Benny and the other one. I got it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for sticking around. As we promised, I'm just going to run that video, and then I'm going to and then bring on Awista to close out. But I wanted to give that opportunity, and we'll see if this plays for everybody because like we said, this is a pretty good. And actually, Lynn, you want, as I'm getting this ready, do you want to explain the story of how these videos came to be?
Yeah, so we were working with the Nimipu Fund, which is a CDFI on the Nez Perce Reservation. And we were doing some work up there. And man, you want to talk about just some great entrepreneurs that tribe has. And so we decided, we really wanted some videos to go along with our business idea generation curriculum. And so I went up there and interviewed several entrepreneurs there on the reservation. And this is one of them.
Yeah. So, it may, I think the audio is going to play. It may not go all the time with Howard's mouth, but I think you're going to really get what he's talking about. So with that, here's Howard Teasley.
My business is Hitman Chimney Cleaning. We've been in business for around 12 years now. And basically, it was kind of a fluke how I got into it. Our housing authority for the tribe asked if I could do some cleaning for them. And I told them I just do my own. And they stated, well, they're pretty simple and we can help you out. So over time, we've gone from cleaning maybe 30 to 40 homes in a year. We're cleaning probably 100, and it's mostly tribal homes. I would say it's probably 80% tribal and 20% non. And we basically do everything from a phase 1 cleaning inspection, telling folks that, with 20-point inspection and telling those people if there are problems or not, but we can go through and do a point-by-point inspection. We do have cameras, so we can take video of their of their pipe too if there's some significant problems that you need to show them. The pros of it is that chimney sweeping linked to my regular job. So being a forester with the Nez Perce tribe, so we actually have a senior firewood program. And in the beginning, it started out as contracting with tribal members and vendors. And so when I was sweeping, I can naturally inspect those homes to see if the wood was in good quality. So that was one of the pros, because it linked back to my regular job. Some of the other things that it was is that there were interactions with folks that I didn't know previously or have seen that were tribal members, and then non also. I would think some of the drawbacks is family time. So in the falls, I get real busy to where I'm working Friday, Saturday, Sundays, doing my regular job. And so that's time away from my family that way. So they're long days. Some sweep days, I may do 21 sweeps in a day. I may do 10. We're just trying to do volume to try and get people done as quickly as possible so they can get ready for the season. So those are the simple ones. Some of the other ones may take me 3 hours at one place where we're doing repairs, basically.
Okay, guys. Yeah. So that was I don't know
but
what's
for
going
people
on.
like me.
Oh, this is another presentation by Lynn. We're not going to do that today. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing here and turn this over back to Awista. Thank you, everybody, for staying around. It's much appreciated. I hope you guys got a lot out of this presentation. I hope you guys start your business or get new products. And as Awista's talking, I'm going to make sure that we put both myself and Lynn's email in the chat box so you guys can contact us if you have any questions. Awista, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Mark. Amazing job, as always. Great job, Lynn. Your presentation was amazing. Thank you so much for all your important info. This webinar was recorded, and you will be able to access the recording by tomorrow morning. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to email me. I have launched the survey. Please go ahead and let us know what you thought of today's webinar. Every little bit helps myself, Mark, and Lynn know what you would like on the next webinar. Speaking of next webinar, our next webinar is going to be tomorrow. It is going to be presented by Michelle Meza, owner and CEO of Lexi Coaching and Consulting. As always, registration is free. It will be at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific. As always, like I mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded, and you can access this and many more of our recordings on our website, www.nativelearningcenter.com. We have a Kadita webinars tab and a recorded webinar section. You can click any one of these webinars that we have done for the past 18 months. Feel free to view them and share them with your friends and colleagues. Check out our upcoming events as well on our social media sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Snapchat. We even have a podcast titled Hope Athinga. You can find that on Simplecast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us today, and thank you, Mark and Lynn, for presenting. I hope everybody has a good day.